Evensong. I'm Douglas Buchanan, and I'm here with composer Elizabeth Winters. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're very excited to be offering the world premiere of In Flanders Fields, which will be featured at our Evensong commemorating Veterans Day. The choir has really enjoyed putting it together, particularly those of us in the choir who are composers have really admired a lot of the sound worlds that you've created and the way that you've approached the text. And I think it's a really impactful piece. So thank you so much for writing it.
Thank you.
We're honored to
And
be
thank
able.
you for doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering, could you tell me just a little bit about the background of the piece, maybe how you came to write it, or your approach to the text and setting this text, which is certainly well known, but setting it in your own way, in your own music?
I wrote this piece, I think it was back in 2011. It was actually for a competition,
Mm-hmm.
and I came second,
Uh-huh.
which was annoying because so they never performed it.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, obviously, it was lovely. It was lovely to come second, but it's like, so we like your music, but we're not going to sing it.
Right.
I think they actually found it a little bit too hard. This was the feedback was they liked it, but it was too tricky for them.
Uh-huh.
I was allowed to include a trumpet. I think this was I think I could include a brass instrument. I don't really remember.
Mm-hmm.
So the trumpet was supposed to be like the bugle,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
kind of calling across. Yeah, you've probably got that
Mm-hmm.
across the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
And the text was given. This was a set.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it was a set text.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of settings, so I do know a couple, but I kind of tried to blank them out
Yeah.
and avoid looking at anything else because I thought it would be too off-putting. Seeing as I hadn't got a choice, I had to go with the well-known text.
Right.
But it was fine. When I got into it, I was able to do my own thing with it. I seem to remember
Mm-hmm.
I took the structure of the text I stuck to it quite closely for the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the refrain that comes back, and I used that quite strongly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you mentioned you were going to ask me about the kind of loose rhythms and the.
Yes, yeah. Well, I was going to say there are some aspects that are quite challenging. Now, I and my choir, we particularly like sinking our teeth into really challenging work, so we very much enjoy this. But there are a lot of these flexible rhythms. It does, at least for me, as I've been practicing it, it sort of feels like you're wandering around sort of this ghostly space. And so the pulse is in some places is very flexible just because of the way that you've written some of the rhythms, and the choir sort of emerges in and out of that, and it becomes it's as I say, sort of a ghostly experience. And
yeah, that's good. That's
uh-huh.
yeah. It was supposed to be kind of sort of looking back at the battlefields, but kind of, do you know what I mean? From now, if you see them now with like the wind and with nobody there, and kind of a movement is maybe you get the things moving in the wind, but from a sort of distance almost.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, very
Does
much.
that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, and especially the way that you treat the trumpet is treated very much like that. It's like an echo from the past throughout the entire work, and then but also just sort of the way that the voices are crafted. There's a couple very strong moments. I'm thinking about 3/4 of the way through the piece. The choir arrives on this big chord right before sort of this annunciation at the end to sort of keep up this battle against evil that the text sort of brings out, and it's quite powerful. Some of these big towering chords in the choir. Had you written much for choir before this, or had worked with choirs?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
No, I've written quite a bit for choir.
Uh-huh.
It's probably the hardest thing that I write for.
It is.
And every time I come back to it, I find I'm sort of improving on it all the time. I'm never happy with what I'm doing.
Oh, I find that myself, because I try to write regularly for the choir at least one or two anthems a year, and then I come back to it and I think, oh my gosh, I really should have done this differently, but then have adjusted it. Well, it's been marvelous to dig into this piece, which has been challenging but very fulfilling, and I think it'll be a very moving tribute as we have it as the centerpiece of our Evensong for Veterans Day. Before we close, I'm just curious, what are some of the things that you're working on now?
At the moment, I'm actually rewriting a choir piece
Excellent.
that I wrote about 4 years ago. But I'm doing it. It's kind of, it's not really an arrangement, but it was soprano, alto, and organ. So I'm now rewriting that for SATB.
Okay, lovely. What's the text?
It's a Magnificat.
Oh, lovely.
So yeah, it's my only setting of that. So it's really weird. It's going back to something 4 years ago. It's not. I remember writing it because it's not that long ago. But it's like you find new things and you think, oh no, I wouldn't do this, and it's just. And after that, I'm going to be doing a trio for clarinet, violin, and piano.
Oh, lovely.
That's for my husband. Has a group. He's a clarinetist. So I'm doing that.
And that's the Bartok instrumentation, I think, for the
yes,
for that
it's going to be paired with Soldier's Tale.
Oh, that's great. Oh, well, I'm sure that'll be lively and wonderful and fun. Well, Elizabeth, it's been wonderful to get to know your music and get to know you a little bit. We've enjoyed having you on Sundays in Song. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.